Okay, I'm moving to next slides. Okay, types of cloud computing. Can somebody tell me what are the different types of cloud computing available? Anybody want to share quickly? Quickly.
Public, private, and hybrid.
Public, private, and hybrid. Okay. Only these three?
Yeah, that's what I'm aware of.
Okay. So from the exam point of view also, these are the only three. But apart from these three, there are other two also. Okay. We will see exactly. Somebody has written on-premise, multi-cloud. Okay. Okay, sure. So let's see what and all different things are there. Generally, there are two categories when we talk about the cloud computing model. Okay, there are two broadly we classified into two categories. One is the deployment model, the other is the service model. Okay, deployment model means how and where the infrastructure is installed or deployed. Okay, whether it is an on-premise or it is on cloud or different types of cloud, how and where the infrastructure is deployed is what the deployment model talks about. The service model, how you access the resources from the infrastructure that is deployed. Okay, whatever you have deployed, how you are accessing that is what your service model talks about. Mostly deployment model is tangible in nature. Tangible means you can feel and touch. Okay, it's a physical infrastructure. Examples for the deployment model is server, storage, networks, etc., which is very specific to IT domain, IT admin. Okay, you end user for this is an IT administrators. Okay, because if you are installing, if you want to do a physical installation of servers and all those things, who does that, right? IT administrators only does that. In the service model, mostly services is intangible in nature. Okay, you cannot physically touch. Okay, that means if you are accessing a virtual machine, you are not physically touching that, right? You are just seeing on the system. No, means from remotely you're taking and you're operating it. Like example, operating systems, middleware applications, and the software. End user for that is mostly the developers. Okay, mostly the developers. Now, if you broadly look, cloud services is for the IT administrator. The second category is the developer. The another category is the end users who is actually consuming the services. Okay, these are the three major players, or I can say the actual users of the cloud computing. One is the IT administrator who decide where to deploy, what to deploy, how to deploy. The developer is actually application developers. The end users is a consumer of the actual applications. Okay, these are the three users of the cloud computing. Okay, deployment model and service model. We'll go ahead and look each and individual first. The first comes here is the deployment model. Okay, when you take a deployment model, there are only two things. One is public cloud, or the one is the private cloud, the other one is the public cloud. Okay, only two things. Based on these two combinations, rest all other things are defined. Other three flavors comes. Okay, like you have like if you want to make a tea, right, you just need a milk and tea powder is enough. If you want it changes, you add little bit water, or you want ginger to add, all those things. Somewhat similar to this combination of these two comes the next. Okay, now what is the other things is hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is basically mixer of private cloud and the public cloud. Okay, the next is the community cloud. What is the community cloud? It is a public cloud, but different organizations uses one common platform. Different companies uses one common platform, which is called as a community model. We will discuss about this little bit in next upcoming slide. What is multi-cloud? Multi-cloud is a multiple public clouds. Okay, multiple public clouds accessible by one single organization. You can just see the image and relate. Okay, community cloud is one cloud but different companies. Multi-cloud is one public cloud, multiple public cloud, one single organization. Okay. Now, where is the infrastructure and who access the infrastructure from where? This is what the deployment model talks about. Okay. Now let's go deep little bit inside and see each individual cloud, how it is, what is the benefit, what exactly it is, and all those things. Okay, so the first one is the private cloud. Okay, a private cloud is owned and operated by the organization that uses the resources from the private cloud. Okay, that means if any data center which is there with any organization, okay, that can be termed as private cloud. One, okay, that can be termed as a private cloud. Or the other definition, if you look at from the some of the cloud providers tells, if you create a virtual network within the cloud, okay, that particular portion is restricted to you alone, means to a particular organization. That particular component also can be considered as a private cloud. Okay, based on some cloud computing organizations definition, if you create a virtual network and if you are putting all the resources there within a boundary of the virtual network, okay, that also can be considered as a private cloud. In general, to make you understand, just consider that if any organization having their own data centers and using it for private use for themselves, that is considered as a private cloud. Okay, so what are the benefits is ownership lies with you. The owner and the user of the cloud services are the same. Okay, hardware, the owner is entirely responsible for the purchase, maintenance, and the management of the cloud hardware. Okay, because if you are an organization, you are buying the things, right? You are the one responsible for that. Users exclusively by a single business or an organization. Okay, connectivity, a connection to the private cloud is typically made over the private network that is highly secure. Skills requires deep technical knowledge to set up and manage and maintenance. Okay, so when you say private cloud, you are hosting your own data centers, you are responsible for everything, you are buying the hardware, you decide who is the users, you decide what type of connection, and it requires a skill, right? Skills for maintaining the data center, skills for uptime of the server, skills for electric power, whatever things are involved in that, everything comes there. Okay, so now just see here from a pictorial point of view. Okay, so private cloud are a pool of resources dedicated to single enterprise or individual business or an organizations that can be connected across geo locations. Okay, now see here, X organization, Y organization, your organization, and on-premise data center. Okay, so X organization, some different X and Y different organization, your organization is what your organization is. Okay, where you are. Okay, every individual organization has their own data center. Okay, that particular data center is called as on-premise data center also. Okay, now what is the difference between on-premise data center and the private cloud? Can somebody tell me quickly what is the difference between on-premise data center and a private cloud? Does anybody want to quickly add, or via chat also can somebody want to?
Premises actually the servers installed in the premises of that organizations, while that in the cloud, that is in the servers or that networks installations is done in the CSP's premises.
Then what is cloud? What is public cloud then? I'm talking about what is on-premise data center versus the private cloud. What is small? There is a thin line difference between the on-premise data centers and the private cloud. What your given definition is like public cloud. It is you are hosting on some different. Public cloud, we don't need to buy servers. On-premise servers, we need to buy. My question is, what is difference between on-premise and the private cloud? I'm not talking about public cloud. On-premise data, because this is a thin difference. Okay, on-premise versus the private cloud.
On premise, we are buying a server and installing in the same organization.
Okay.
And private cloud, we are availing a service like infrastructure as a service.
Okay.
So in that, like we are taking the storage part from the vendor.
Only storage.
Server and storage, I mean.
Okay. Okay. Any other points? Any other points?
It is an on-premise infrastructure which is particularly for that organization on the cloud.
Okay. Private cloud.
Yeah, private cloud. Say for example, you have a company, physical company. The infrastructure is very much replicated on the cloud,
Uh-huh.
only for
What
the
is
particular
on-premise?
organization.
Then what is on-premise data center?
A physical, physical infrastructure wherein you have your physical laptop, desktop, your printer kind of things. But on the cloud, it is just a VMs. Everything is virtual.
Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's the actual thing. But let me reiterate that. Okay. So on-premise data center is typically a old model, traditional way of handling the data centers. Okay, where you have physical servers, physical storage, everything. Somebody IT administrator walk in inside the data center, or they will have a KVM access to access those servers. Okay, that is a typical data center. For small thing, you have to walk in inside the data center and do it. Okay, when it comes to a private cloud, okay, you install a virtualization on top of your traditional data center. Okay, you are virtualized your physical data center, you are virtualized your on-premise data centers. Once you virtualized your on-premise data center, you will have a capabilities of accessing things remotely. Okay, what is virtualization and all those things we will look at. If someone newbies are there, for them we will discuss in upcoming slides what is virtualization and all. But to understand here, on-premise data center is physical data centers. When you say private cloud is completely a virtualized environment. Okay, on the virtualized you have VMware, you have KVM, you have Zen operating systems. All these different types of operating systems are there. Any idea what operating system, what virtualization Azure is using? At the end, this is also, see, Azure, AWS, everything is nothing actually. It is all the virtualized environment. They are also using some hypervisors. Okay, any idea what type of hardware, what type of virtualization they are using? Linux. Okay,
I believe Microsoft own virtualization.
what is that?
Say earlier it used to be virtual PC probably.
I believe it's Hyper-V.
Yeah, Hyper-V. Yeah, more precisely Hyper-V. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It is Hyper-V. Okay, so customized Hyper-V version is what the Azure is being used. Okay, on the back end, we will see how it works and all those things in the upcoming slides. Okay, we have Hyper-V also in our laptops. Okay, if you are having a professional edition of Windows 10 and all those things, you will get that option. But same thing only, they are customized Hyper-V they are using. Okay, so now if once you are using the virtualized environment on your physical data center, that is considered as a private cloud. Offers highly secure but not guaranteed secured. Okay, responsibility, individuals are responsible for breach, physical security and data loss. Use cases, sensitive data, organizational compliance. Challenges is high cost of ownership because everything you are buying. Okay, license everything. And if you look at here, there is no connectivity between one organization to another organization. I have just marked here the into marks. Okay, so now if you look at from the advantages, legacy application can be customized. If you have any old applications that can be customized. Greater responsibility. Okay, you have to you can define your own responsibilities. Compliance and legal requirements can be met strictly. Okay, in the disadvantages, huge upfront capex investments will be there. Okay, scaling need capex investment. hardware or skills that is needed, space that is required for hardware racking and stacking. Okay, that is the private cloud. The next comes is your public cloud. A public cloud is owned by a cloud service provider, okay, also known as hosting provider. It provides resources and the services to multiple organizations and users who connect to the cloud services via secure network connection, typically over network. On the first day, we discussed about the definition, typically over network, multiple users. Okay, a company who owns a data centers and they give services from them. Okay, that is what a virtual marketplace as an example we discussed. Okay, ownership refers to the resources that an organization or end user uses. As we discussed, services is the owner by users. Okay, users are the owner for the services, and for infrastructure, cloud service providers are the owners. End users, public cloud modes may make their resources available to multiple organizations. Okay, multiple users, multiple organizations can use. Availability to user, most of the time it will available for most of the time. Connectivity, user connects cloud over the internet using web browser. Okay, through web browser. There are different modes also, which we will discuss in the next slides. Skills, public cloud do not require deep technical knowledge to set up and use its resources. Okay, for setting up and all those things, we no need to have major skills. Little bit skills is enough to learn. Okay, now let's see from the diagrammatic perspective. See here, X organization is using Y organization and your organization. Okay, when I say your organization, consider wherever you are working, that is your organization, and X and Y is a different organization. Okay, the moment X organization connects, there is a tenant, X tenant has been created here. If you can see here, X tenant is, so there is an account which has been created and everything is bounded to that account only. Okay, when Y organization try to connect, Y account is created. When your organization try to create, your organization account gets created. Okay, so this is how the tenant model works. Different organization, for each and every different organization, you will have a different tenants. Okay, so different cloud providers we already discussed, Amazon, all these things we have already discussed. Right? So moving on to next slide, advantages. High scalable and agility, we already discussed about this. Pay as you go. Okay, so pay as you go model. No hardware maintenance cost. There is no hardware is required. Minimum technical knowledge. Disadvantages, this I will spend some time because this is little important. Okay, specific security requirements. Okay, specific security requirements cannot be met. Okay, so some of the security requirements. Can somebody tell me, taking the resources from cloud, is it secure or not? Or does anybody heard about any security challenges from the cloud? Few organizations says that it is not safe. Okay, so what is your point? Can somebody throw some light on that, whether taking the resources from the cloud is secure or not?
Can you elaborate that, taking the resources in sense?
We discuss about, right, like virtual machine storage, whatever.
Oh, yes. Got it.
Whatever
Yes,
we take the services from cloud, whether it is safe or not.
Not
See,
safe.
again, this is a debatable point because it totally depends on how you configure your the environment in the cloud. Because the cloud providers, they always say it is secure. We provide a level of security, and it totally depends on the way you take up the cloud. For example, we have infrastructure as a cloud, and platform as a cloud, and software as a cloud. So every tier has a different security level. So it's totally debatable point. Some people they say yes, for some people they say no.
Okay. Okay. In chat, I think it is.
And also we can make it secureable by making a firewall, network security groups and all.
Okay.
Obviously it is a secure.
Obviously it is a secure. Okay. Any other points? Any other thoughts? It depends on your own risk. Someone has says accessible through internet, not secure. Public is not secure. Okay, it is made in a such a way depending on the service you are accessing. Okay, any other points? Any other points?
As per my knowledge, it is secure. It is secure, but again, the complete it is not under our control.
It is not under our control. Okay.
Yeah, because cloud manages everything, so everything is under their control. If it is on-prem, then everything is under our control.
So you mean to say if I put on-premise data center, it is completely secure?
Well, it all depends on how you are going to configure, whether it is a firewall or NSG or port numbers or jump servers, whatever you are using. It all depends on the organization, and that depends on the architect, how he is designing.
Depends on architect. The same maybe stands there also.
I think
In the cloud also,
I-
you can design your network, no? You can design things in accordingly secure way.
Yeah, exactly. In the cloud also, we can design that, but again, sensitive applications like banking and all that, we cannot take risk.
Okay. So you mean to say if I put the banking application in on-premise, it is safe?
On-prem is always safe. Let's take ICICI Bank. They are using their own data center, right? They cannot go into AWS or Azure. If something goes wrong, crores and crores of the people will be in trouble. I mean, customers will be in trouble.
That's where the cloud is offering us multiple services like disaster recovery and all those things. They are already offering us.
Of course, cloud is always offering the best on daily basis. But again, banking organizations, whether it is Indian bank or US bank, whatever it is, I mean, this is just my assumption.
Yeah.
My banking, I don't think they would take that much risk.
So you mean to say if I put my banking application on premise, it is completely safe?
I mean, see, hacking is always possible in all possible ways, but again, better to have own data center.
Okay, better to have one data center. Okay, fine. Okay.
I will say cloud is secure because the files we stored in the cloud servers, they are mostly encrypted. So even if any hacker try to retrieve that file, it's not easy for them to, because all the files are encrypted. If I talk about AWS, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
So I will say it's secure as compared to on-premise.
Okay. So banking applications can be hosted directly.
It depends, like like the requirement from that bank.
Okay. So let me throw some lights, different ways, because it. Yeah. Someone want to say add something. Yeah.
Yeah, can I answer here?
Yeah. Please.
Basically, if your organization's application is critical business applications, so it is not recommended to publish it in a public cloud because there are overstocked 20 vulnerabilities existed in that one.
Okay. So
So that's why, yeah,
you mean to say public cloud is safe, secure?
is not safe, not secure.
Not secure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me throw some light here. It is as someone, my friend has one of person has highlighted. It's a debatable thing. Okay. Yes, it is always debatable. Okay. So, but there is a report. Okay. In 2020, there is one report which has came is 83% of cloud is not safe only because of misconfiguration done by the users. We as a user, we don't take cloud seriously and we don't know what are the key measures we have to actually take. That's where 83% of data going stale, it is only because of we as a user do misconfigurations. Okay. Now, second point here, cloud organizations does the best of the best certifications in the security. Okay, you take whether whatever there in the market from the best security, almost everything they are certified. Can somebody tell me a normal organization, if I have a data center, like say for example, not a banking, let's take some mid-range organization, can they afford to get such licenses whatever the cloud providers are offering? Definitely not. Okay, every organizations, every company, they cannot go ahead and certify themselves as per the best and best class security. Okay, cloud offers that. Okay, cloud has various different types of certifications. they are they are making their best in all the ways. Okay, from the disaster point of view, for disaster from anything. Okay, we discussed about the 6-7 points right on the yesterday. So from any point, it is almost taken care every angle. But a normal organizations cannot afford those things, though for the company it is a critical application, they cannot afford that. Okay, because the cloud has taken. Now why companies, if you take organizations, for the people who says that cloud is not secure, if you take 500 fortune companies, 500 top fortune companies, 500 out of 500, almost 70% is already migrated to cloud. They are all in cloud actually. Okay, so if it is not safe, secure, why these companies go and keep their resources there? Okay, so now it is all about how you are configuring, how you are considering, how your architect is viewing the application, or how they are storing. It requires a deep understanding of major security services, then only you can able to protect that. Okay, like you have, there is a sequence of steps. Okay, whether you are doing only like direct hosting, there is a different use case. If your company is into a DevOps model, there is a different, your different security guidelines are there for each and every deployment. What type of deployment you are doing, for everything there are different security models are there to use. Okay, so now overall if you look at it, is all lies up to us because it is our data. From the cloud point of view, they give almost all everything, every possible options whatever they can offer. Okay, but there is always risk lies. Okay, why? Because if you take in 2007 or something, there is a one major attack happen on AWS. Okay, there is I think yesterday also I discussed about this. Okay, DDoS attack happened and the entire company, that company got closed. Okay, which is a web hosting company, that entire company got closed. Okay, so there is always chances that if you are doing a misconfiguration, it is high risk to the company. And it was documented that more than 70% of storages, more than 70% of storages in the cloud are into the public accessible, which means it is unsafe. Anybody can go ahead and log into that. Okay, why? Because we are doing the mistakes. As a user, we do the mistakes of making it public. Okay, wherever we no need to make a public, there we do the public. So it creates a problem for all of us actually. Okay, so at the conclusion, if you say, it is all up to us how we are doing. Public clouds are offers the best of the best services. Okay, now there is a option of multi-cloud also, which we are going to discuss. You put the we discuss about the monolithic application and the microservices yesterday. Okay, how you are developing your, if it is a monolithic application and you are keeping it everything in one place, it is unsecure because the model of the developer what he chose is entirely wrong. Okay, we have to change according to the organizations are moving. Okay, your developer should develop a monolithic microservice based architecture. Okay, not the monolithic based. Okay, so they have to put, and the services has to spread across different organizations, different multi-clouds. Like some services has to put in AWS, some services has to be in Azure, some services has to be in some different Google Cloud, and there should be connectivity between all these things. There are companies called Aviatrix, and there are some more companies who offers a network and secure between the multi-cloud platforms. Okay, we can take the services from them also to protect us. Okay, I'm moving now. Next, compliance and government policies. Specific compliances and policies cannot be met. Why? Because your organization may have some different need or requirement which cloud organizations may not have. No hardware or services ownerships. You are not the owner and you cannot manage it. That is another. Legacy business requirements. This is another one big challenge for the public cloud. So one of the incident I will tell you in my organization, when I was managing some of the data centers, we saw that customers from the IBM perspective, few customers, they want to use very old applications. When I say very old applications, they need ultimately very old hardware. Okay, if you want that hardware to be on the cloud, you cannot do that. Okay, say for example to compare, if you ask XP, okay, some application will runs only on XP. XP doesn't offer by cloud. That is again another challenge. Okay, you will not find XP on the cloud. Or from the hardware perspective, if you need some specific hardware, which is Pentium processor, if you want that to be on cloud, it is not you don't have option. Okay, because now everything has been migrated to iSeries. Okay, so which even now also, if I am not wrong, even now also there are many organizations who needs a legacy applications. In such cases, public cloud cannot be met and you need to have your own private data center. Okay, the next comes is your hybrid cloud. As we discussed, the public and private, if you are mixing both, that is an hybrid cloud. What is the benefit? A resource location. Specific resources run or used in the public cloud and other runs are used in the private cloud. Some you can run on public cloud, some you can run on private cloud. Cost and efficiency can be leveraged. Benefits of cost and efficiency and scale. So now one example I can just relate, just for an example, not to as a real time, but just to make you realize. Some person has highlighted that banking applications can be put or not, right? On which we discussed ICICI as an example, he has highlighted. What I can say now is, say for example, take the same ICICI an example. Okay, the website, they can put it on the cloud. The database, they can keep it inside the private cloud. Okay, in their own organization. Am I audible? I got some internet connection not stable here. Yeah, am I audible? Can somebody quickly have? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Now, as I'm giving example, ICICI website, they can keep it on cloud. Okay, the database, they can put it on the private cloud. This kind of model is called as an hybrid cloud. Okay, when somebody log in ICICI.com, the website will open from the cloud. The moment you enter the username and password, that will hit through an API, and API will calls to your private cloud, and from the private cloud, the database will get authenticated and use it. As an example, okay, if you are really worried about the security, these things can be arranged. Okay. The next is the control. Organization retain management control in the private cloud. Agility brings agility for the test and development. This is the very best fit use case of a hybrid cloud, agility. Okay, so testing and development you can do on cloud. Okay, testing and development you can do on cloud, whereas actual production deployment you can do it on your private cloud, clouds. Okay, why? Because for testing some of the things you need very huge resources. Okay, and for huge resources you will get a huge cost, it will occur. So what you do, temporary purpose, you take it everything on cloud, you do the test and development there and put it onto the production, where you need bare minimal servers actually, instead of you are having a very huge infrastructure for test and development. Okay, skills, technical skills are still required to maintain the private cloud and ensure both cloud models are operating together. Okay, from from the design graphically, you can just see here your organization and on-premise data center. So both are there. From both, you can go ahead and access the public cloud. You will have a connectivity between triangular connectivity between your organization. When I say your organization, from your workstation also you can access. From your workstation means from your laptops you can connect, or from your on-premise data center you can connect to the public cloud. Okay, so advantages point of view, legacy hardwares and opt-out hardwares, you can have that. Okay, run critical workloads in cloud, flexible to choose what you run locally versus cloud. Economic of scales, you are not responsible for maintaining updates. Security and compliance, you can use your own equipments and compliance if it is a private. If it is in cloud, again we have discussed what is the limitations. Expensive than deployment model. Compliance manage, it can be more complicated to manage. Why? Because you have to see now the two different infrastructure. One is cloud infrastructure you have to look at, one is on the on-premise data center also you have to look at. Then the next model is a community cloud. Okay, so for example point of view, only these three things are there. One is the private cloud, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. These are the additional who some organization has talked about this. Some organizations, they says that it is already mixed with how you are accessing and all those things. But yes, this is also very important for us to know. Okay, what is the community cloud? Say for example, if you are developing some product where three different companies need to be take part in the development. Example, if you take a car manufacturing, okay, tires has done by some different company, seats done by different company, right? Every component done by different companies, and it will be assembled in one place. Somewhat similar in the development also. If you have a use case where you some different company has to take care of some particular portion of the software, different company has to take some portion of the hardware, the another company has to take the different hardware, then definitely this kind of model will work. All different companies come and access one single cloud, okay, one single account. But in cloud also it has different types of options. I have not updated this, it's okay. So community cloud, if you look at here, you see here X organization, Y organization, and your organization. So here if you can see two different, if you see the X organization, they access X organization account, okay, that is one model. Y organization and your organization, they both access one account. Here you can see X organization to your account, X organization to your account, there is another connectivity. Okay, so this is how the cloud community cloud works. Okay, two options, either you go and access their company's account as a X account, and from X account they can access your account, or Y organization, if you see directly they are accessing to your account. Okay, it is up to you how you using your Azure Active Directory services. Okay, so you have to taken care of lot of security here if you are going for a community model, because you are allowing some third-party companies also to jump into your account. So this is another important thing. Any questions in this? Any questions up to now? Any questions? Am I audible? All good? AG? Type AG in the comment box. All good. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of community cloud. If you look at legacy hardware and outdated hardware, you can use as non-critical workload, economic of scale. It's almost same for the community cloud and hybrid cloud. So I just want to jump on. The next most important for today's things is the multi-cloud. Okay, if you look at for next 1 year or 2 years down the line, if you look at 100% of the companies will go for this multi-cloud. Okay, 100%. I'm saying 100%. Okay, because keeping everything in one place in one cloud is not safe. Okay, for any matter, for any matter, for that matter. Okay, so multi-cloud is use of multiple cloud computing and the storage services in a single heterogeneous architecture. Okay. When your architecture design things, it is considered that everything as a single heterogeneous architecture. It provides the distribution of the cloud assets, softwares, application, etc. across several cloud hosting environments. Okay. So benefits, if you look at ownership, refers to the resources that are organized choice, given you flexibility and ability to avoid vendor lock-in. Okay, say for example, if some Azure gives says that you cannot use this product. Okay, if Azure says that you cannot use this product, maybe AWS may be giving you that vendor. Okay, in such cases you can choose the flexibility. Okay, a disaster avoidance, you can have a disaster avoidance here. Cloud outages, human error, malicious attacks can be avoided. Compliance, leverage the compliance and the legal parameters. Okay, skills of the multiple cloud and the security measures can be met here. Okay, so here if you can see the diagram as an animation, so your organization in accessing AWS, Azure, as well as the Google Cloud as an architecture. Okay, you will have accessibility from your organization and from your on-premise data center. You can access this. Okay, you can get the redundancy. You can get the lot of things can be shared here on the multi-cloud environment. So this is all about the deployment model. Okay, any questions up to now? Any questions? So from the exam point of view, public cloud, private cloud, and the hybrid cloud only it will come. The community cloud and in the multi-cloud may not be there for AZ900 exam point of view. Okay, any questions till now or all good? Hello, all good? Can you explain which cloud is preferable? Okay, which cloud is preferable? For me, multi-cloud. If you ask me, multi-cloud is always a preferable me. Okay, because it's all depends on how the developer is designing your application. Okay, it is all depends on how your application is designed, but preferable always a multi-cloud. Okay, why? Because you are putting your application into two different clouds. If some reason AWS goes or something goes wrong, you will still have Azure as a backup. Okay, Azure infrastructure as a backup. So for that matter, for the most secure point of view, multi-cloud is always preferable. As I said, another next maybe 1 year or 2 years, almost all companies will migrate to multi-cloud model. Okay, now itself there are a lot of companies already has realized this, and they already has upgraded to cloud multi-cloud model. Okay, now again, as I said, in the development, it is how and where your infrastructure is deployed. That is what the matters here. Okay, where and how your infrastructure is deployed, that is what it talks about the deployment model. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question here.
Yes, please.
Can you differentiate it with the hybrid cloud model?
Hybrid cloud
and multi-cloud model?
See, hybrid cloud is private cloud and public cloud. Okay, you are mixing the private cloud and the public cloud in the hybrid cloud. Okay, when it comes to multi-cloud, only your organization is using, your private cloud is using multiple clouds, AWS also, Azure also, Google Cloud also.
So if you borrowed the public cloud service from the one vendor and the private cloud service from the another vendor, so would it amounts to hybrid cloud, or it will be amounts to multi-cloud model?
Okay. See, let me reiterate that what is the private cloud again. Okay, so that you will get understand. When you are hosting your services within your data center is a private cloud. Okay. Now the other way is like what you are highlighting is you are taking the third party vendors, you are hiring the services. Okay, the storage, the physical infrastructure, that is an entirely different scenario. Okay, let's not get confused in that. Private cloud, you just consider that your overall organization. Okay, your organization is accessing the AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, that is an hybrid cloud. When it comes to multiple cloud, your organization is using all the three. AWS also you are using Azure also, you are using Google Cloud also, that is called as a multi-cloud. Is it answered? Is it clear?
Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay, as name says multiple cloud. Okay, multiple clouds you are using. In a hybrid cloud, only private cloud talking to public cloud. That's it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So any other questions, or our company is building a data center, will it call as a private cloud? Very good question. So as I said, if it is a traditional data center, you will not call it as a cloud. Okay. If it is a virtualized data center, then it is a private cloud. Okay. If all your systems, everything is virtualized, then it is called as a private cloud. Is it answered? Is it clear now? Happy Chocha. Okay. Any other questions? So the keyword is virtualized. Yes, you can say it is as virtualized. Even what is cloud? Cloud is again a virtualized environment only. Cloud is nothing but a virtualized environment. That's it. Very simple. Nothing more. It is in a virtualized, but in a different way altogether. It is a virtualized. Okay. Now I'm just coming to service model. Yeah. Thanks. Coming to service model. Okay. Now deployment, we talked about where your infrastructure is deployed and how you are accessing it. Service model is talk about who access what, who is accessing what, who is responsible for what. Okay. Service model talks about who access what in the sense, whatever you have deployed, the infrastructure you have deployed in the deployment model. Okay. Whether it's a hybrid case or multi-cloud or community cloud, in all these, who is accessing what? Okay, who is responsible for what is what a service model. Okay, now just see in, okay, I'll come back to this slide a little later. First we'll talk in in service model. We have basically 6 different categories. Okay, 6 different categories. One is your on-premise, the second one is your infrastructure as a service, the next is your platform as a service, the next one is containerization as a service and function as a service. The last one is the software as a service. Okay, so these are the 6 different categories. In containerization as a service and the function as a service, it has been merged here. Okay, let's see what are the different types, what exactly each and individual talks about. When I say infrastructure as a service, okay, so here what is infrastructure? Your servers, your storage, everything. Okay, now see here, instead of you buy the hardware with IaaS, you can get hardware on rent. Okay, you will get the hardware on rent. That is what the infrastructure as a service. Okay, we discuss about what is a service. Okay, for this reason only I explained that service as an ITIL definition. Okay, without any specific user cost Okay, customer will get what they want. Okay, here they are not putting the expense for hardware. They are buying it on rent. Using IaaS, user can build new server, storage, network, firewall within minutes. Why? Because everything is pre-built, everything is ready, everything is virtualized. Who is the user for that? IT administrators. Okay, IT administrators are the user. Cloud provides an instant hardware availability. Okay, within no time, you just click on buttons, you will get the infrastructure readily available. Most controlled over the provided hardware. Okay, instead of you manage things, even if your data center is virtualized, still you need lot of efforts to build that. Okay, whereas in the cloud, it is everything accessible from a self-service portal. From one single plane of glass, you will access everything. Okay, even if you take example from the virtualized, your data center, your own organization data center is virtualized, you will have to manage your virtualized environment from VMware or Zen or Hyper-V. Your network is need. Okay, network has to manage separately. Your storage has to be maintained separately, though everything is virtualized. Okay, every individual you have to maintain separately, different interfaces, different logins. Okay, but whereas in cloud, everything in a single plane of glass, single window, you will get everything. Okay, advantages: eliminates capital expenses and reduce ongoing cost, improves business continuity and the disaster recovery, innovate rapidly. The cloud advantage here, they call it as a fail fast. Okay, if something you are developing, okay, and it is not say for example, one real-time use case. How many of you are remembered Orkut? There is an application Orkut, right? Where is anybody using now?
No, it was like a Facebook.
Yes, it was like a Facebook, but nobody is using now. Now Facebook has come up very fast and they have developed so that all the features, everything has overcome the Orkut, and Facebook is there. Now, if you want to develop some different applications like a Facebook, you can go ahead and deploy. And if something goes wrong and you cannot do major changes, you can stop the application very fast. Okay, if it is an on-premise, you have to buy the entire infrastructure for testing. If because of some reason, if it is not working fast, okay, say consider the Orkut as an example. Okay, if Orkut is closed completely, you might have to have entire infrastructure will get waste, right? Entire data center, entire server, storage, everything might have gone waste. Okay, but if it is on cloud, you return back to them. Okay, there is no loss in, there will be a losses, but not to a major compared to physical. Okay, focus on core business, increase stability, reliability, supportability, better security, get new apps faster. Okay, some of the use cases of infrastructure as a service: website hosting, migrate workloads, test and development, web app, storage, backup, recovery, high performance computing, big data analysis. These are some of the use case of infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service. Now, if you look at here, what are your responsibilities? OS will maintain by cloud providers. Here you can see the image. Wherever you have a cloud, this is responsible by the cloud, and wherever there is a human, this is managed by organization. Okay, so your operating system, your virtualization, your service, server, storage, and networking, all these things is taken, or call it as an infrastructure, and these infrastructure are managed by your cloud providers. And application, data, runtime, and the middleware, these are all maintained by us as an user. The next is a platform as a service. When I say platform as a service, here you can see here, we are the responsible only for the application and the data. Application and the data, we are only responsible for that. The runtime, middleware, operating system, everything is used by cloud providers. Can somebody give me one real-time example of PaaS? How it is real time? I just don't want some kind of high-level definitions or something. Can somebody tell me how exactly this PaaS is?
So for example, you have developed your business application based on the Linux or Unix systems.
Okay.
Okay. And so for that, installing those applications, you require the Unix bare metal box, right?
Right.
So the services you have borrowed for that box comes under the platform as a service.
What is the last line? Can you repeat again? The services?
Services you borrowed from the cloud service providers for that platform as a service, for that box, it amounts to the platform as a service.
Can you give the example for the service? What are the services that we borrow?
So for example, if your organizations have developed on the Unix platform applications, say for example, in I'm handling in the retail industry. So we have developed the back office applications on the Unix. So for that Solaris box, installing on that applications on the Solaris operating systems. So we have borrowed the Solaris as a platform, as a service from the service providers, cloud service providers.
Good. Thanks for that. Any other points? Any other people want to add something? Quickly, please. So we are all here to learn. Actually, there is nothing right answer or wrong answer. Just speak up whatever comes to your. By this, we will understand actually what is the level of understanding that we have. Running a database. Okay, good. Next, quickly. Somebody else wants to add? Okay, fine. I will show some of the things in the next slide, because the platform as a service often misunderstood in many ways. Okay, many people have misunderstood. Okay, I will show the exact things as a example in the next slide, so that you will have a very good understanding of what is what. Okay, now see here, PaaS provides an environment for building and testing and developing software application. Okay, so we are talking here the building, testing and deploying software. That means the user for this is always a developer. Okay, it is not that end user is a user or IT administrator. No, the user here is the only developers. Okay, the goal of the PaaS is to help create an application quickly without managing underlying infrastructure. That's where, if you look at here, the application and the data, these are the only two things that comes in picture where we are responsible for. Okay, rest all the things is provided by the cloud vendor. The next is plug and play hardware and software. Okay, why? Because we are all saying that these all are managed by your cloud. This is a plug and play. You no need to manage anything. Okay, the next is pay as you go. Okay, you will voice not audible. Am I not audible? Somebody has written voice not audible. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, is it loud and clear, right?
Yeah, everything is good. Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so pay as you go. Resources are purchased from the cloud service provider on a pay as you go price basis and access over the secure internet connection. Okay, so the next is the characteristics. No upfront cost. Pay only for what you use. User responsible for the development of their own application. The cloud provider is responsible for the operating system management and the network and the service configuration. Okay, so you are the focusing only here for the developer point of view, so that the development can be very fast. Okay, the next is use case. PaaS provides a framework that developers can build upon to develop or customize cloud-based applications. Tools provided as service with PaaS allows organization to analyze and mine their data. Okay, so these are all, good from the definition and all those things. But are we really understand what exactly it is? Okay, now let's see here what exactly, how and where this PaaS comes in. Okay, now if you take any server, okay, this is a server, you have a memory, you have processor, you have hard disk, sorry, this is a network, actually I said memory, so this is a memory. Okay, on top of this you have installed the hypervisor, okay, which is your virtualized environment. On top of that you have a virtual resources here. Okay, you all have a virtual resources. Okay, now on the cloud side, if you look the other side here, you have a network and the storage. You have a network and the storage. The next thing what you get, the actual additional things is imaging server. Okay, this cloud service provider will provide this. Cloud service provider will provide this. Now as a user, you just want to select, I want Red Hat server, Red Hat installed. I want Java to be installed, Java is installed. Okay, all things come from this imaging server. Whatever is there here, you can install that. Okay, now you are, see here, you as a user, this is your responsibility to write a code. Okay, now if someone says that I want Ubuntu server, Ubuntu OS is installed. If you say that I want PHP to be installed, PHP, then you are responsible only to write a code. Okay, from the developer part. Whatever is there, it is already there in the repository of the OS repository and the languages repository. Okay, so if someone says that I want Debian, you install Debian, and Ruby on Rails. If you want to install Ruby, you are responsible only for the code. Okay, you just need to pick up what I want and you just start writing the code. Is it clear? Is this clear? This is the PaaS. This is the platform they provide. Okay, OS platform and the languages platform. This is already installed. You just go and pick it up and start writing the code. If you want to do in the infrastructure as a service, you are going to be responsible for this. You have to install this. You have to manually go and install. You have to go manually install Java, PHP, Ruby, whatever is there. You have to manually do. But here when it comes, it is already, it is there. You just go pick up, I want this, I want this. It will get ready for you. Is it clear, or any questions, any doubt in this?
Clear.
So everything is done through a self-service portal. One particular portal will be there. Everything you are managing through that only. The next example of PaaS, the another next example, that is the first example, and this is the second example. You have on-premise data center here. Okay, and you have a virtual machine here. Okay, and in the virtual machine you have installed the application. Okay, there is an application is installed here. Now you can take storage and database alone from the cloud. That is also a part of PaaS only. Okay, if you take only storage and database from the cloud and all the application is hosted on premise, this is also can be considered as a platform as a service. Here the platform is your storage and the database. Here your platform is your storage and the database is the platform, and your application is hosted on your premise itself. This is another example of PaaS. Okay, example 1 also considered as a PaaS example, and this is also considered as a PaaS example. Is this clear? Is it clear? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have one query. Like you said earlier, in case of this Orkut and Facebook, you said like if you want to create an application, we can go ahead and create. So the same way, if I want to create a new applications, so will this come under this PaaS?
No, you are creating
On the first example, what you said is the applications and everything will be there. We just have to pick and we have to.
No, 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 no. See here, the first example is application, in the sense there are two types of applications, what you are developing and what is required. These all are runtime actually. Say for example, if you want to create an application, okay, you need languages to write. So like C, C++, Java, you need that, right? You take that C, C++, everything will be there in the language repository. And you are responsible only to write a code inside that. Java application, Java code you will write. PHP, you will write the PHP code. Okay, that is what I'm saying. In case of example, if you take any application, those application are written somewhere, right? Those applications are installed here, but the development of the code you have to do it manually onto that. These are all runtimes actually, the languages and runtimes for writing that. C, C++, you know, right? If you want to write any code, you need at least bare minimum C, C++ as a language. So those things will be available into the repository. And you write a code inside C, C++ or Java for that matter, or whatever it is. Is it clear, or still you have any confusion here?
Yes, yes, I got it. Thank you for the.
Yeah. So application is, there are two applications where you write the application and application you develop. These are the two different. Why I'm not able to hear your voice. Voice is breaking. Can you repeat again? You can explain example 2 once. Yeah, sure.
So can I go ahead, Mohsen?
Yeah, please, please, please. Yes.
So does it mean, like PaaS is more expensive? Yeah. Thanks for giving me a chance. So does it mean that PaaS is more expensive than, like infrastructure as a service?
No, it is very cheaper.
Because we are getting, all the, applications coding is automated.
It is cheaper than infrastructure as a service. It is cheaper. Okay, why? Because when you say infrastructure as a service,
Okay.
you need to manage so many things. For managing, skills is required, all those things is required. Here you don't need anything. It is only a developer point of view. Okay, it is one step ahead for a developers, that they can develop everything in a short time. Okay, that's where it is less as expensive compared to infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure, you are buying infrastructure on rent. Okay, so somebody wants to explain the example 2 once. Okay, so what happens is, in the example 2, what I'm saying is, if you have an organization and you have a server, and inside server you have virtual machine or an application is installed in that. Okay, but you don't have a storage and databases in your premise. You are taking storage and database from the cloud. Okay. Am I audible now? My
Now
something got disconnected actually. So I don't know, some problem with my laptop actually. It's letting this. Okay. So is it clear, the platform as a service? Someone has asked me that to explain example 2. Is it clear, or is my screen is visible? The screen is visible?
No, still showing sharing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay, fine. Is the example 2 is clear? Any questions? Example 1 and example 2 PaaS, is it clear? All good? AG in the comment box, please. Hello, am I audible? AG in the comment box, please. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Fine. I'm moving on. More simpler than IAS.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you have any questions?
Please.
Bapu Rao, I think. Explain bit on example 2. Yeah, it's very clear, right? Like you have an application on premise. Okay, you have an application on premise and storage and database you are taking on cloud. That's it. Okay, application is there inside your on premise. Only the storage and database you are taking from the cloud. That is what the difference here. Okay, more simpler than IaaS, less management, easy scaling, no operating system patches middleware to manage, reduce the storage hardware maintenance, reduce the database and hardware maintenance, reduce the human resource skills, no upfront cost on entire hardware. Okay, but here see example 2, when I say you need to think from the cloud storage and the database. Okay, you no need to set up the storage and database entirely. Okay, only whatever you want to virtualize, whatever you want to take it from cloud, you take those things only, and for those things you no need any hardware resources. Okay, application is there on your premise, and storage and database you are taking from things. See, this example 2 is not a core not typical example of PaaS, but this is also can be considered as a PaaS. Okay, can be considered. I just want to be no use cases be clear. That's why I mentioned here. Okay, so a typical example is example 1. Okay, but this also can be considered as PaaS, provided storage and database you're thinking only from that angle only. Okay, I'm moving on to the next container as a service. Any idea what is containerization? Can somebody quickly tell me what is containerization? Anybody heard about this? Yes, no?
Containerization is basically you are installing your application on the virtual box, right?
Then what is hyper virtualization? What is hypervisor?
It's a group of dependent application.
Dependent application. Okay. Any other answers? Any other points? Any other one? Docker. Okay. Anant Kumar has.
It's just container that contains all your libraries and code and APIs.
Right. Okay. Fine. So here, when you look at from the containerization, okay, there are so many applications and all those things need various dependencies, like your libraries, like your DLL files, or some of the dependencies which is required. Say for example, if I say some application when you install on your laptop, it says that Java needs to be installed before as a prerequisite, right? Or .NET framework has to be installed. You might have seen this. Okay, somewhat similar to that, containerization also needs libraries and all those things. Now, what is the difference between the hypervisor and the containerization? If you see, as we discussed in the previous slide, I'll take one topic on containerization and difference between, but to understand here, see here, if you look at from the hypervisor point of view here, okay, this is a different OS actually, rather I can say, okay, where it is like Hyper-V or Zen or VMware, all those things. Okay, you are installing onto this, and this is controlling entire your virtual machines. Okay, this particular operating system is controlling your underlying operating system. Now, how this is controlling the physical resources here it is directly mapping to your virtual resources. Okay, it is directly mapping to your virtual resources. Whereas in containerization, what happens is, so it is not directly mapped like this. Okay, whatever individual machine is there, okay, its own libraries and dependency files, it will take from your underlying hardware. Okay, underlying hardware it will take. Okay, it will not map your physical infrastructure directly. So in virtualization case, say for example, this is my 8 GB memory example. I'm saying 8 GB memory. Instead, in 8 GB memory, what it happen is, it will give 2 GB to the here, 4 GB here, and 2 GB here. What will happen? It will come 8 GB, it will be over here. Okay, 8 GB will close here. Now, when it comes to containerization, what happen is, if you are not allocating specifically here, okay, you are not allocating 2 GB, 4 GB, 2 GB separately here. Instead, what it does is, it will take from underlying infrastructure, it will take it directly and it will run as it is. Okay, anyhow, to it is not time to main differentiate here the containerization and all. Okay, what I'm saying is, I will take one different session how the containerization everything works. Okay, now to make you understand what you need to do is dependencies, whatever dependencies is there, it will take from individual and it will works. Okay, what is a function as a service? You can consider containerization as a next generation of hypervisor. Okay, next generation of hypervisor, which is a Docker. You can consider as a Docker as function as a service. There is another component, function. Any idea what is this function as a service? Any idea? Okay, fine. So if you take an operating system, okay, you get Notepad, WordPad, MS Paint, everything. If I'm running a critical server, do I need all these things? Do I need all these things? Definitely not. Okay, these are, so consider function as a service is something where whatever you need to run that particular specific application, only that you will be running. Examples, APIs can be considered. Okay, APIs you can write on that. Say for example, weather report. Example, there are a lot of website, it shows the weather report actually, right? Who is responsible to take the weather reports? Who is responsible to take the government organization generally takes the weather actually, right? And they sends the data to maybe Google or somebody to display into their portals. Okay. Now here, how that information is going and taking it up. Okay. You write an APIs or you write a specific function to that, which goes to the respective application and take those things and it will show. Okay, you no need to write a complete code. Okay, you no need any operating system, full blown operating system, you no need. What is you required, only take that only. Example, your mobiles, you take it, lot of applications are there. If you want to make a calls only, you write only code for calling only. That is what the function as a service. Okay, so this is not updated, so I'm skipping this. The last one is the SaaS, software as a service. Okay, when you take a software as a service is that centrally hosted and managed for you and your users and customers. Usually one version of application is used for all the customers and it is licensed through a monthly or annual subscription. No capex is required here. Agility, fastly you can deploy. This is also works as a pay as you go. Some of the examples, if you ask, the Dropbox, Salesforce, Gmail, okay, all these considered to be a SaaS applications. GoToMeeting, the Zoom applications, whatever we are using now, all these are considered as a SaaS application. Are you maintaining anything? Okay, so here this all is wrong. Okay, these all are managed by cloud vendors only. Okay, this is not updated. This is SaaS everything is managed by cloud vendors only. Okay, your application, your data, your runtime, your middleware, operating system, virtualization, server, storage, networking, everything is managed by your cloud vendors only. Okay, so let me quickly compare this with the previous slide so that you will get some more little detail idea. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any questions? Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Bob Provisor. Yeah, you said like in case of hypervisor and container.
Okay.
Now, in case of hypervisor, you are trying to like physical devices are trying to connect with a map with a virtual machine. Like
No. That is the hypervisor. Physical, when you talk about physical and virtual machines, you are hypervisor.
in case of container, you are saying they will
Your voice is not fully audible actually. Can you repeat again?
you want to compare with a container and a hypervisor functions like actually that. In case of hypervisor, you said that physical devices map with a virtual machine like in on the top of that applications.
Yes.
They physically map.
Yes.
But in case of container again, they said you said this all these application directly access the hardware.
Yes.
What is the meaning like how you?
Okay, that's what I said. Give me maybe in the next class, probably I will take that difference between hypervisor and container and function as a service with an image. Okay, it is there here. I don't want to take that time now. Okay, because it needs some time to spend and explain everything clearly, because this is a often confusion words, function, container, hypervisor to many people. So in the next class, most probably I will explain that. Okay, but you consider that advanced level of hypervisor is your container, advanced to container is a function.
Okay.
Just to as of now.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come to that again. See here, a service model. Here the applications are WordPress or Zoho CRM here. So on whatever the yellow color is there, the star mark, these all are managed by us as a user. Wherever tick marks is there here, so these are all managed by your cloud service provider. Now when you look at from the SaaS, everything is managed by your cloud service provider only. Okay, now here if you look at the PaaS, CaaS and FaaS, okay, now all these three things are meant for developers only. Okay, users for this is developers only. Okay, now SaaS, if you can see, it is an end user. Okay, because everything is ready, Gmail is ready, you need to send a mail. Okay, Gmail is there, you just need to send an email. Who is managing your data? Who is managing everything? Everything is managed by Gmail only. Okay, your data also managing by them only. You are writing that, that's it, nothing is there. Your data is also not with you. The moment you send the data, you are not controlling anything. Do you control anything? If somebody hacked in between, or if you, can you put firewall? Can you do anything? Gmail? No, you cannot do. Facebook you have sent. If somebody is seeing, somebody is watching, do you control that? Your data is also not your data there. Okay, in terms of SaaS. When it comes to PaaS, data and application is yours. Data and application is yours. Okay, rest all is managed by your cloud service providers. Okay, now when I say runtimes, this Java, PHP, MySQL, all these things, Ruby on Rails, Storm, Apache, everything, these all are comes under the runtime. What is the data here? Data is your actual data, where maybe it files, any files, it could be exe files, zip files, doc files, JPG files, anything. Middleware is IIS, your Apache, Nginx, Lightspeed, or these things are considered as a middlewares. Operating systems, Debian, all these Windows or anything can be considered as an operating system. Virtualization, here you have a VMware, the Hyper-V and KVM, the Zen servers, all these things, the physical server storage and all. If you look at from the infrastructure point of view, as we discussed, these all are considered as an infrastructure. Okay, so these all are managed by your cloud service provider. Rest all is managed by user. Okay, on the on-premise, if you look, everything is you. Everything is you. Okay, from the top to bottom, everything we have to, as a user, we have to manage ourselves. Okay. In a layman example, comparing this is on-premise is like your own house. Okay, infrastructure as a service is your rented house. Okay, platform as a service is a semi-furnished house. Furnished house. Container as a service and the function as a service is a bachelor accommodation. Okay, can you do major changes? Can you create a kitchen? Can you write anything in the bachelor accommodation? You cannot do. Okay, whereas in the past you have some flexibility. Okay, in the bachelor accommodation it is a very limited functionality, limited things which you can do. SaaS is staying like at a hotel. SaaS is like staying at your hotel. If you take food as a service, on-premise is like cooking food at home. IaaS is you semi-cooked things are there. You go and buy pre-ready-made chapatis and just cook it in your home. Platform as a service is something you order it from hotel and you eat it. Infrastructure, everything is built there and you are getting it. Just a table or chair, whatever is there, you are using that and you are eating it. Container as a service, again, it's like ordering the food from online. The last one is go and eat in restaurant. Okay, SaaS is go and eat at a restaurant. Transportation, if I compare with transportation, it's a own car, leased car. Then you are booking cabs, Uber or Ola, something like that is a pass. Okay. Again, Ola Mini, if you are ordering Mini, that is a micro taxi. Okay. SUVs, if you are ordering the biggest car, that is your pass. Okay. You cannot do much customization and all those things. Okay. The software as a service is travel in the bus. Okay. On the customization, on-premise, you can do full customized. This is partially customized. PaaS is your limited customization, and container and FaaS is minimal customization, and software as a service, no customization at all. Okay. Any questions in this? Are you able to relate this what I just spoke? Any questions? Is it clear? Can you explain container and FaaS one more time? Yeah, as I said, give me in the next class, I will come up with some diagrams. I will explain. Container and FaaS is almost the same as platform as a service, as I said. Okay. So only thing is you will have a small version in container and FaaS. Okay. When we come in the next class tomorrow, I will be showing you the difference between hypervisor, containerization, and the FaaS in more detail, so that you will understand all these things very clearly. Okay, give me one more day. Tomorrow we will come up with that. Okay, but hope any other questions in this? Is it clear? Or any questions? This slide still simulating, will ask later. Sure. Okay, anyhow, you definitely you will have some questions around CAS and FaaS, as in you if you are from new first time you are learning the cloud. Definitely tomorrow we will come, but this is a layman for understanding. Okay, you can understand this, right? This page and next page, at least you for understanding this and this page. Is it clear, these two things? Any questions in these two slides? This slide and this slide. All good? Yes, all good. AG in the comment box, please. Okay, fine. So I thought I can start some Azure portion also today, but unfortunately we are almost reached 9 now. Okay, probably tomorrow we will start about Azure. Will directly from tomorrow we are logging into the Azure. Okay, for today this is I'm closing it for today. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything you can ask. Okay, I told that today I will be running the quiz, but we don't have time now. So quiz tomorrow, first thing we will do the quiz. Okay, the whatever we discussed 2 days, yesterday and today, we will be running the quiz tomorrow. After the quiz, we'll be learning about what is CAS, FAS, and PAS. Then we'll jump onto the Azure tomorrow. Okay, so if you have any questions so far, please ask me. Any suggestions you can give me, any feedbacks or anything you can give me, or else those who want to leave, it is okay to leave now. Thank you everyone for attending the session. Thank you. So if you have any questions,
Thanks,
please
Moses.
unmute and just speak up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye. Any questions, please ask. I'm there for another 5-10 minutes. I'm there. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you. Then I'm just closing the session. Thanks for everyone.